I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you would remain standing just for a few minutes as we recognize those that have lost their life overseas in defense of the country and those here at home, in particular for the recent tragedy in Chattanooga. Thank you. I'd like to welcome everybody and ask if there's any public comment on agenda items. Agenda items only. Department head reports. Wastewater.
Wastewater. June, the month of June. Average daily volume of wastewater treated is 917,000 gallons, 5.75 inches of precipitation. That's almost 1 million gallons a day.
I see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Facility met all New York State DEC speeds, permit limitations. Pellwood Lake, Pellwood and Webb Lane pump stations, Haversville facility are checked regularly and operating correctly. 25.97 tons of digested sludge processed through the Belts filter press disposed by Spectraserve Inc. Belt filter press in operation 13 days. Chief John Jones attended chemical bid opening, Village Hall, 10 o'clock, June 11th. Attended Hudson Valley Waterworks seminar in Montgomery, the 18th. Attended department head meetings, Village Hall, the 23rd and the 30th. ISCO Inc. technician installed a new compressor unit, warranty work, an automatic effluent sampler, marked out 4 sewer mains during the month for UFPO notices, repaired, painted floors and headworks building 3 days, maintenance and lubrication of pumps, motors, machinery as required, maintenance of buildings and grounds as time allowed, 25 days, man hours lost due to sick, vacation, personal leave and compensatory time, 11 days, gas consumed 53.9. That's it.
Treasurer. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, Board. Got a brief treasurer's report for this summer, July. The revenue and expense reports were made available to the Board and to the Mayor. Again, what is really going to reflect now is the receipts for the taxation revenue and some minor spending for the different departments to carry on their activities. So far at the beginning of the year, all the financial parameters and everything look like they're on target. There is some debt service that's coming up. You'll approve some of that today for some bonds from the past, so we can get those payments out there. And as we talked about last year, our bans will mature toward the end of the fiscal year in March, so that we don't have constant ban renewals. So that will be helpful. The 2014 AUD is being prepared for submission. It's probably about a 60-day process to get that all put together. We'll have that submitted by September 30th as per the requirements of the Office of State Comptroller. And the New York class accounts that we established in May, we're receiving statements for that, and I will have that in a file available for any board members' review, just to verify that all the class accounts are established with the proper seed money in there. And then I'll just need direction from the board as to when we're going to take this year's budget and apply the reserve funds that were put in the budget toward fiscal year 2015.
Currently, am I seeing weirdly?
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What's the latest we can do that, Ed?
End of May. Basically 2 weeks before the end of May, you would be able to put this money in. My only recommendation would be, as we found last year with the fire department and the failure of the fire truck, and then you were able to make a change to your allocations to pay for that fire truck. And because of the low interest rate environment that exists right now for these type of funds, it's probably to your benefit right now to hold off and not see these yet.
That's what I'm asking. How long can we wait?
Yeah, I would say let's revisit this in the fourth quarter.
Okay.
Okay, because again, you're not really gonna lose much. If you're getting band financing at 0.49%,
You're not getting any.
you're not getting any more than that with your reserve funds right now. But your reserve funds are having a different purpose, and that is you're sealing that money for that purpose, so that you know that that money's put aside and can't be used for anything else. You have to direct that money. So you've got a certain protection as far as the money's concerned. You're not going to see a whole lot of interest over this period of time because it's a low interest rate environment. It is what it is, but it works both ways. Your debt is also cheap. Okay, so we can pick it up in the fourth quarter after we've seen the year's expenses and year's activity, and then if it looks like, you know, March, April timeframe that everything looks pretty solid, then you can resolve to take the money and seed it into those established funds. Okay, and that's pretty much all I have for right now. I am working on, you know, just some other incentive things. I did want to remind the board that you did have that proposal from Ms. Reese on the,
I actually have that on my mayor's report.
okay, so that's just something sitting out there as far as electric rates and so on. That's all I got. Any questions for me?
That's actually, thank you for bringing up the electric, because I actually have that down on mine. These are things that, again, I'll point out, the benefits of having, as part of the team, an active treasurer that continues to look on a week-to-week basis on how to get better economic value.
Absolutely. Oh, one last thing I just want to mention too. If any of the board members want to take a look at the 4th of July or the senior accounts, okay, obviously they're not in the system. They're on in our separate bank accounts. Obviously, we expended a bunch of money for the 4th of July. From all reports, everything went well. Everybody was paid. I think everything overall worked out both financially and from the public, other than, I guess, firecrackers that were being set off by the people, but that's beyond the scope of what we're going over. But I do have that available, so if any of the board members want to see those numbers, and we did have one vendor that was in arrears as far as their commitment for that program. They have now caught up. So those funds have been received. Okay, that's all I got. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
Fire, senior center, mayor's report. First off, I want to thank Charlie Murphy. She's very upset not being able to be here tonight. She made every effort, but she is working day to day as a trustee. She may not be able to make the meeting, but she's pushing the issues of the grants for consolidation, and she's actually in contact with the gentleman who's doing the grant, making sure everything possible is being done. I did want to mention that, and I think that maybe Ed can follow up on it. Is he still up here?
Yeah.
Ed can follow up on it with us. I think that we need to move forward with Michelle Reese with the electric to at least, now she's given us a proposal. She did tell us that now is not the time to do it, but we can lock into getting it done when our contracts are up. But we want to lock in at the lowest rate, which according, if I understand correctly, at this point will probably be September. But we can sign an agreement with her now, so I want to make sure at the next meeting, everyone has that agreement and you've looked it over between now and the next meeting, so we can make a decision.
It's timely too.
Yes.
I think she said there was a certain extent of time till September.
Right, well, we've already, the one window would have been March to the end of April, before any air conditioners went on. Basically, to get the lowest rate, you have to sign during the lowest rate time.
Right.
So the other time is now going to be after August, between mid-September and October, where again, you're not using your air and you're not using your electric heaters or anything else. So, but I think we have to have that, everyone needs to look it over between now and next meeting, so we can make a decision and move on that, because even now with our contracts, if I'm understanding correctly, all of our contracts are not under the program, only like 2/3 of the contracts are under the program. So we need to get everything under the program, so we're saving the maximum amount of money.
Also, Mayor, you're gonna have to sign that letter so that she can contact Direct Energy for updated numbers.
If you could remind me about this tomorrow, I'll take care of it
Okay,
tomorrow.
I'll pull a file, but
Okay.
that letter, we have to, as a village, provide her with the approval, because they're not gonna give her anything until you guys allow that to happen, okay?
And
So
that'll
I'll-
give us much better, more concrete numbers.
I'll follow up tomorrow.
I want to thank the town board. Last week, I met with them to discuss several issues, mainly consolidation and possibly helping us out. Bob had brought up a few things that he was open to discuss because they're hot items right now. One being the senior center, one being 4th of July. I want to thank the board. They were very open. They were very open to looking at what they could do to help. They couldn't lock themselves down on anything specific until they looked at the numbers. But we did talk about the possibility of the building being moved over when the time is right. But more importantly, the programming to be moved over as soon as possible. Possibly under rec. They were concerned because they felt they were going to need more people in rec. I would like the village to support, I would love the village to support more people in rec, because I think we do need more personnel. It's just, and I mentioned that in the meeting, that I don't think that rec's ever gotten the amount of personnel, even for our small community, to do everything that needs to be done.
They used to get volunteers and stuff for the recreation program during the summer, didn't they?
No, not to my knowledge. They had a couple of young people that did the raking and stuff, but they were paid, to my knowledge. But bottom line, I think that, we can't just have one person and a part-time person running an entire rec program if we're gonna have a real senior program, a real rec program for the youth, a real program like other communities have as far as a summer concert series. Even if we only have 2 or 3 things, somebody's got to do it. Someone's got to make the phone call. Someone's got to do the pricing. It's got to be done. There's a lot of things that this community should have that can't, because we don't have the people to do the work. So I as a village board member definitely support doing what's necessary to get that done. And they're very concerned, obviously, always for the taxpayers. So they don't want to expend the extra money. But I want to thank them for spending the time. And unfortunately, the town board usually is a lot quicker than the village board, and I kept them an extra hour, so they let me know that. You're starting to make it like village board meetings, and I enjoyed that. They were also open to the fact that 4th of July, we talked about the structuring of that, and possibly not having them take over 4th of July, but having them, Bob actually had mentioned, back in the early 90s, there was a point where a majority of the committee had left. And Bob, as the supervisor, when he was supervisor back then, made the statement to the public that there will be no 4th of July, because there's no committee, nothing's going to be done. At that point, several community members stepped up, reformed the committee, and moved on. And that's basically what I asked them to do again. That's not the one thing that needs to happen in our community, is that 80% of a lot of things that are going on, people think are village issues. They're not. The 4th of July is a town thing. It's for the entire town, it's not just for Highland Falls. And so those decisions need to go to the town, not the village. It's not that we don't want the responsibility is not ours. It's not up to us to decide for Fort Montgomery that either an event will or won't happen. And that's how I feel about the parks as well. It's not up for me to say who can use Roe Park or the Little League field. It's really up to the town, because those are town events that occur there. Discussion, correspondence, we have a letter about tax payment. Did you have one? I apologize. I'll go with, I didn't have, these are great. Seniors.
The seniors are now going to start using the center starting this month. Last month they had a luncheon for the new officers. One of the, several of the issues that were raised was that it's very warm in the center. They wanted me to come back to the board and ask them about possible ceiling fans or AC units. They were given free box fans, but it's not doing it for some of the seniors. Are saying the heat is really oppressive.
They have a central air unit there, it's not working. I'll have to check it out.
Okay, I asked that question too, and then I didn't get the answer.
Yeah, maybe it's something as simple as turning it into cool on the stat, and, you know what I mean? There's a lot of people in the area that maybe not understand the fact
Okay.
that there is a condenser out back.
Okay,
So I'll make sure that,
okay.
in Fran Kalu's absence, who would be the person to talk to? If, well, you know, it's something, I turn it on, or stat.
Yeah, Greg.
Okay.
Greg made most of the meetings with Fran, he's on the committee.
I'll call Greg.
Sorry, Greg, we're gonna call you.
Okay, I will not be attending July, August, and September meetings for the seniors because of some medical procedures that I have to have done. But I will gladly meet with them during any time that they want to meet with me during the day, but I can't formally be at those meetings. And Dolly Vanzetta said she would certainly give you any information that we need to have. Police, is the chief there? No. The community forum was held. I had positive feedback on it. People are now coming to a community forum once a month to discuss issues between residents, among residents, and the police department. Mary Jane, you were there, I heard, right? Went well?
It did. It did. The only thing that I told Pat is, and I don't know how Kenny, because I think if one of you guys were there, it'd probably be good also.
Yeah, I plan to. The next step, we also would like to do coffee with a cop, which means I'm asking the chief to take a look at the schedule and then having people drop in at the center, have a cup of coffee, sit down, get to know the police can start to get to know adults and some adolescents, so we're working on that as well. Okay? That's it.
Did everyone take a look at the letter?
Yes.
Feedback?
It's a difficult situation, but in matters like this, we have a policy. And anytime we seem to stray from that policy, we wind up getting in a lot of trouble.
Anthony?
Trying to look for it.
Brian?
Okay, hold on.
Any comments or?
I agree, there's a policy set. And if you're not gonna adhere to the policy, then that's gonna open up the door for people to say, well, we can do it this way or do it that way. You got the policy,
And I agree.
you voted on the policy, it's a procedure now. You have to, there's no choice, you just can't abandon procedures.
Right.
The one thing, but it's gotta be discussed with the clerks first, because they're the ones that will deal with it. Is taking, when people pay without the penalty, not accepting it, whether you wanna accept the full amount, we don't.
We don't. She did not.
I know she didn't. What I'm saying is, when people pay without, I wanna take the money, and if need be, still accrue the penalties.
I wish our lawyer was here, because there's something to that, I think.
Right now, the way our code is written, we cannot accept without a penalty. That would be considered a partial payment. We
Right.
do not take partial payment.
Correct, well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that I wanna look at that, that's all I'm saying. We're not gonna make this tonight,
Right.
but I wanna look at it to see if it would help us, alleviate situations or it would not. So that's the only thing I'm asking.
Yeah, no, I agree, but I
Okay.
just, I know there's something to that, and I just don't remember.
But exactly what Gina said is
Yeah.
exactly what it is. It's not a payment.
Right,
It's not a payment without it, it's a partial payment. But that's, we have to decide whether we'll take a partial payment, because that way I get the cash, they still owe the money. I'll still accrue the penalties. But this way, we can actually say, if you pay it, and only that one penalty would go against you, you won't get additional penalties while it's being worked out. Because right now, if they're trying to work it out and they haven't paid the penalties, they're gonna accrue even more penalties as we go.
but I'm sure that if you know there's a deadline and there's a penalty, if you miss it, it makes people more time, like, you know.
It does for me, and I
And I'm
don't
sure
like, it doesn't mean I like it.
Ed would love that, you know.
He does love it.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to new business.
So-
I need an approval for the regular board meeting minutes, July 6th. Motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I need a motion to appoint part-time police officer Lataskia Beatty as a recruit, the salary per part-time police contracts. Do I have a motion?
Before you make the motion.
Oh, okay, no problem. We'll hold off on that one. I have an appointment for part-time police officer David Yates at step 1 of contract, $35 an hour, maximum probation, 52 weeks.
Is Ken here?
No.
No?
I'll make the motion.
This is the one that we wanted the paperwork, and this is the paperwork,
Okay. Is it, and he's okay with this guy?
so, yes.
I have it all written up here. I'm not gonna read what it says, but
That's right.
it's extremely positive.
Okay, and Kenny's all for this?
I met with Kenny this morning, this afternoon at 4:30. I thought it was in the morning.
Okay,
Do I have a second?
second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I need a motion, I have a motion for a request for facilities, O'Neill High School, Royal Park for varsity JV and modified baseball from March 1st, 2016 to June 10th, 2016. Do I have a motion?
I move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have a resolution for approve and endorse the CFA consolidation funding application. This is for the application for the grant for consolidation. The Village of Highland Falls Board of Trustees approving and endorsing an application to the New York State Home and Community Renewal for funding under the Consolidated Funding Application Grant Program, whereas the Village of Highland Falls desires to apply for $250,000 in financial assistance through the year 2015 Consolidated Funding Application under the New York Main Street, and whereas the application proposes to assist property owners to complete building renovations to downtown Main Street buildings on Main Street between Catherine Street and Tobin's Avenue, and whereas the proposed funding will contribute to ongoing community revitalization efforts. This one's for the revitalization, not for the other one. Whereas the grant application requires the application to obtain and approve land endorsements of the governing body of the municipality in which the project will be located. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village of Highland Falls Board of Trustees, in its capacity as governing body of the Village of Highland Falls, does hereby approve and endorse the 2015 New York Main Street Program for Assistance prepared and to be submitted by the Village of Highland Falls. Just to be clear, I had said this was the consolidating resolution. This is not. This is for Main Street revitalization. We're doing a time call. Do I have roll call? Do I have a motion to accept the resolution?
You do?
Do I have a second? Roll call. Thank you.
Roll call, trustee Farina, trustee Mallon,
Yes.
trustee Alward, Mayor Flynn.
Yes.
Now I have a resolution for the consolidation. I need authorization to develop and submit a grant application for the Village of Highland Falls reorganization study. Whereas the Village of Highland Falls is an incorporated village founded in 1906, wholly located within the town of Highlands. And whereas over the years, the function and services provided by the village have evolved in order continually to meet residents' needs and expectations. And whereas the function and services provided by the town of Highlands have also evolved in response to changes in residents' needs, as well as the powers and authorities of towns to deliver municipal services. And whereas the Village of Highland Falls wishes to examine the extent, if any, to which current services and functions of the village overlap with or duplicate services provided in the town of Highlands, and explore opportunities and challenges related to these reorganization of the village to accomplish greater efficiency, reduce cost, and improve the quality of services delivered to the residents. And whereas in order to accomplish these goals, the Village of Highland Falls does not intend to seek support in an amount not to exceed $50,000 from the New York State Department of State Citizen Reorganization Empowerment Grant Program to conduct a study of reorganization options, to include village dissolution, and to evaluate the positive and negative impact of these options. Which study shall be entitled the Highland Falls Area Local Government Reorganization Study. And whereas the village hereby recognizes that funding requirements stipulate that matching funds must equal at least 50% of the total cost, and that in order to receive full funding, the findings from any reorganization study plans must be presented to the public, and such reorganization studies plans must be adopted by the governing boards. And whereas the town of Highlands has expressed interest in participating in the study and will be listed as a co-applicant on the village's Craig application, pending formal approval by the town board, now therefore be it resolved that the Village of Highland Falls Mayor Patrick Flynn is hereby designated as the lead applicant contact person and is authorized to submit an application on behalf of the village as lead applicant to the New York State DOS Citizens Reorganization Empowerment Grant Program, and be it further resolved that the mayor is hereby authorized to execute all financial administrative processes related to the implementation of the program. Do I have a motion?
You do.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Trustee Farina?
Aye.
Trustee Mallon?
Aye.
Trustee Alward?
Aye.
Mayor Flynn?
Aye. It's long. It's long. As it breaks down, this is just a study. The town also has to pass a resolution just to accept the study, not to accept dissolution, consolidation, anything. And they will be dealing with that at their meeting coming up in next week. I have an event request for the Highland Falls Fire Department Carnival. August 16th to the 25th includes setup and takedown, request for water and electric from Roe Park. Carnival actually occurs on Pickens, but they are looking for the use of water and electric from Roe Park for their tent area. The rides and whatnot are all done on generators, so they don't pull from us.
How do they run the wire across, or they run right across?
Right across the road, yeah. I believe that area is boarded off anyway.
They've done that before.
Yeah. Any questions? Do I have a motion?
How do we proceed? Do we do insurance on these? How do we, I didn't see anything.
Yeah, you gotta have insurance.
They have to have insurance.
They do, and I'm pretty positive they had it last year. It's a rider on
They
theirs.
usually put that in
Yeah.
the back though.
So yeah, we need a rider from them for their insurance. You have it?
Got it.
Okay, so you have the insurance. Do I have a motion?
We do.
Second?
Okay.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I need to approve a transfer from bond principal and interest payments from the general fund to the depository trust company in the amount of $66,381.26. Do I have a motion?
We do.
Second?
Second.
All's in favor?
Right.
Aye.
Opposed? I need a motion to transfer funds from the general fund to the depository trust company in the amount of $85,000. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So we have a motion to transfer money from the water fund to the general fund in the amount of $7,716.37. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I need a motion to transfer money from the water fund to the general fund in the amount of $9,800. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second? All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I need a motion to set the bills and claims for fiscal year 15-16 in the amount of $38,461.36.
Give us a minute.
Say what?
Can you give us a minute?
I can. While we're looking those over, we'll come back to it.
Okay.
We're going public comment.
Good evening.
Good
My name
evening.
is Tim Judd. I live at 77 Rose Drive.
You have to.
I've been living there since April of 1980. I want to talk to you about the wastewater treatment facility. When we moved into our house, it was the previous wastewater treatment facility. And I know that the town, the village needed to upgrade it. We understood that. And they made this new wastewater treatment facility. And when they made it operational, It was being poorly run to the point where the smells from that woke us up in the middle of the night on a regular basis. As it did the Boleslavskis who lived up the street from us. And this went on for quite a while. We protested, we asked questions, and at one point, I don't know if you know this history, Boleslavsky hired Keenan Bean attorneys, and on October 26, 1995, the village received notice to sue for the damage done to our properties and to our persons. And in fact, the village had recognized the damage it had done to our properties by reducing our assessment, indicating that our house was adversely impacted by the creation of this wastewater treatment facility. And I don't know if you're familiar with the DEC recommended guidelines for the location of wastewater treatment facilities. New ones came out last year, March 4th, 2014, about the distances wastewater treatment, new and expanded wastewater treatment facilities should adhere to, and these are currently in violation of that. Our house, the house up the street that the Boleslavskis used to live in, now Willis live in, are closer to those guidelines than those recommended guidelines.
Okay, when were those guidelines put in place?
Right, the 2014 are new ones. I don't know when the original ones were, but
Okay.
but it violated the original ones then also.
Okay.
So as this intent to sue progressed, we didn't really want to sue. We wanted the things addressed. And the attorneys met with the village and came up with a satisfactory agreement for both of us. And they had to involve the DEC in those negotiations also. If you haven't seen any of that material, you might find it interesting. That's a bit of the history. It obviously negatively impacted us and the Boleslavskis. I have a few questions for you. I guess you're not aware of the DEC recommendations that I just made. What's the current status of the proposal you have to accept West Point's wastewater and process it down by my house?
It's still a concept plan, nothing more.
So have you gone down to visit the site?
The engineers have been, yes.
Okay, so where would the expansion go
Up.
to impact my view of the river and the view of the people across the
You
river?
make a valid point. I don't know if any sort of guidelines they put going forward could be, you're sort of grandfathered in with a plant, a new plant or a remodeling of a plant. It may not meet these guidelines, and we're gonna have to run this by council. I wish it was here tonight, but I believe he's away. But I'm sure that you bring up an interesting point that he's gonna have to review.
So that's still a concept. What benefit to Highland Falls would this have?
Revenue. Dollars.
That's it. No employment, no construction. We have to bear up with the construction or
Construction jobs, but they're fleeting, as far
I
as.
lived through it. Yes, I know it.
Yeah, so as far
We
as.
had the blasting. We had
The concept as it stands now, and depends on how it progresses, would give us, again, there's a lot of different possibilities in the mix right now. The bottom line is we're looking for an annual amount, but there's a possibility of a very large upfront amount coming to the village that we could utilize to either pay debt or fund other projects. The possibility of where the piping will go from West Point to the plant, possibility is that it would come down Main Street, which would allow us to redo on their dime from the gate to the plant, all the sewer, possibly while we have it open, maybe some water, and bring the lines down during that process, depending on how the grants that we're trying for now pan out. And that was one of the things that we looked for, that during this process, it not only would be some money to the village, it would be a considerable amount yearly, a possible large amount up front, but also into the possible millions of reconstruction of our sewer and water lines. We're not doing this in any way, and not that I don't appreciate West Point, we're not responsible for West Point. We're responsible for Highland Falls, and I believe we're also responsible for Highland Falls and Fort Montgomery, with the town. West Point has their own facility, they have their own money, they have their own everything. We're looking at this because if you see 2 or 3 of the other privatizations that have gone on West Point, they're serious money-making operations. to let this go, to not at least give a shot at it, in my opinion, is catastrophic to the point of almost with Lady Cliff, where we didn't, you know, we aren't doing enough to keep what's ours. West Point is in the town of Highlands. It's in the town. So what happens there, we should benefit from. They're not only privatizing their sewer, they're privatizing their electric, their gas, everything. We're looking at that too, to see if there's a way that the village can benefit financially from this. It's a one-time shot. Once it's privatized, it's privatized. We'll never get another shot at it. That's why these plans are being looked at. Potentially, if we add 2 or 3 of the different services, it could be upwards in the amount of $500,000+ a year. That the village, this board would not run. It would be a separate corporate entity that we would have say in. That's how it's being proposed right now. And we would have control over rates so that we weren't handing them off to another company that quadrupled the rates the next day. We would have control of the rates, and that's the real reason why we're investigating. And again, nothing concrete's come down. It'll bottom line be this board's decision to move forward if we get the approvals from the different agencies involved. And we're obviously gonna take input from the community, but what we are looking to do is try to find more streams of income to lower a $10 million debt that this board walked into, as well as during the consolidation process, make this village more equitable.
The number, is there a law, you said there's currently, there was a law in 2000, do you have the number on that law, Tim, or anything I
it
did
is
reference to?
well, it's not a law, it's a Department of DEC,
Right,
Design Standards for Intermediate Size Wastewater Treatment Systems, March 5th, 2014.
Now, you're here now because of the upgrade. Are you here also because there's still issues with the plan?
No.
Okay.
After
You're
the
more
agreement
concerned
was
about the
reached-
upgrade.
After the agreement was reached, it's done very, very well. We have very few complaints, we have a couple, but very few complaints, they're doing a very good job.
So now we're good.
Yes,
You're concerned about the upgrade.
you're
definitely
talking-
concerned about the upgrade.
the setbacks on a new plant you're talking about, specifically on this law.
Pardon?
The setbacks of a new plant from a resident.
The current plan.
Yeah, but I mean, if you say this was imposed in 14, I don't
Yeah.
think it would apply to you now, but
No, it says it applies to new and expansions.
Right.
So it would apply.
going forward, yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying,
yeah.
I mean.
But not right now, no,
Yeah.
we're okay with how things are right now.
Yeah, okay, then your question is, it doesn't comply with an expansion, then that's the language I give to Bill.
And that's all, and you need to know that that is very important to us. It's not, we're not slaves to the dollar. There's a reason we're living in the community, there's a reason we love the community. It's not, I mean, there's other ways we can make money that would upset even more people, but we don't wanna do that. So I'm glad you guys came forward, and I need you to be involved in the process, so that your concerns can be heard, and not just heard, answered. Because the people involved have enough money to do what's necessary to accommodate us, or they can't do it. I mean, we can put 6 huge corporations right on Main Street and make some cash. It's not what this community's about. I appreciate you guys coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you ready for the bills and claims?
Yeah, fine.
Any other public comment? Bills and claims.
I got one here, I never.
Gilder's, I've seen it before. Gildersleeve?
Yes. That's the fire department workers,
Workers' comp?
accident and sickness policy with the workers'
Oh, is that
compensation, part of that, for the
Like
fire
LoSAP
department.
type of deal?
No, it's an insurance policy for the fire department only, for their,
Okay, right.
it's an insurance policy for their accident and sickness.
Is that a monthly thing, or is
No,
that?
that's the annual,
Okay.
that's the annual premium.
Anything else on the bills and claims? Can we keep that out just for kicks? Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thanks, Tim.
Can we keep that out?
Yeah, that's fine.
You sure?
No,
We can do that.
no insurance.
Anthony, you have a problem with Gildersleeve too?
Before or two?
What do we got? It's-
2 minutes.
This is our bid, our Slack county, that's our bid.
Right?
Right on that one?
That's for this.
That's the big one now.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah?
Make the motion.
Second?
Yeah.
You sure?
Sure.
All's in favor?
All right.
Opposed? So moved. Board comment? Brian?
No.
Anthony? Bob?
No, I was just curious about Tim and some of the things that may have happened with some of these DEC laws are recent, and they may be something that, you know, we all overlooked.
I think definitely be overlooked, because here's the thing, not overlooked in a bad way,
No,
but
but
just overlooked where that needs to be more of a priority with the money being thrown into this possible plant.
yeah,
There's gotta be a way that not only does it not hinder their view, how can we improve the quality of life in the houses around that area? Is that a possibility?
well, back a long time ago, there certainly were issues down there, and you could actually, Eugene's house, it stunk, and it was quite regularly. I think it was something, there was a process of
Could
what
smell
they were
it by,
doing.
could smell it by my house.
Your house too? It was
Well, I mean,
bad.
I'm all the way up the hill.
Yeah, because.
You could smell in those days, in the 90s,
But they resolved
yes.
that issue, they did something
Mhm.
differently in the process, and they did it at
Wind was
night, or
right.
they changed the hours, and it resolved the issues.
Chemicals.
Yeah,
All
it's-
that chemicals.
So, going forward with this, it may be something as simple as this that slows it down to crawl, and maybe the fact is to blow it out, you know what I mean? I don't know what this means, but we're gonna buy bill it.
Well, I don't think it's gonna impact us where we're at.
No, it's
It's
not.
gonna impact moving forward with the upgrade. If it's not conducive to our town, it's just like any other project.
It don't fly.
If it's not conducive to our community, then it can't happen. You know, if they wanna buy out 20 houses around that area, sure. If they don't, then no go. Kevin's looking. Okay, the only other thing, the only other thing I did wanna say is that we are, I'm asking Brian to put together a letter with me, for the school, to discuss the Bog Meadow issue now, before we wait again and they
Yep.
can't do it because of their budget constraints. I am gonna ask for I'm gonna ask for a letter from the board.
Before December.
We're gonna do it this week. We're gonna ask the board of, the school board for a letter locking them in for next year, that they will, do what every other school board has done in the surrounding areas, and that is, not tax the watershed.
Now, you've had that discussion with them, and they were receptive to that?
I've had a discussion with one or two of the board members. They heard me. But, the bottom line is that everything's gotta be in writing, everything's gotta go. And, you know, if it's not gonna move quickly with a one-on-one discussion, then it'll be a board-to-board discussion in public, just so the public's aware that we're trying to do what we can. And again, I really look at this, I look at a lot of the things that we're trying to do with the town, it's basically bookkeeping, that's all it is. The bottom line is the village is being overtaxed in a very large way for many years, and no one's really, a lot of people are aware of it, but I think it's because everyone thinks it's too big of a monster to deal with, and we do it piece by piece.
And nobody else pays it, we do.
Right, and it's a lot of different pieces, and everyone's, it's $10, it's $15. Well, when you add up the different pieces, it's a couple $100 a month for some people that are paying $15,000 a year. So, and all we're looking, and it's not gonna be a massive difference, but at least it'll be shared equally amongst the people that should be sharing it, bottom line. With that, and no other comment,
Well, yeah, I did. Charlie and I met with them, the board. They were they heard us, they're more than willing to work with us. What happened was the budget had been passed, and by the time we asked for it, it was going to be a large chunk of money which they didn't plan for. So they said, you must have the letter in before December. Okay?
excellent,
There we go.
perfect. With that, I would ask for a motion for executive session to discuss specific individual and personnel matters and contract negotiations.
I move.
Second?
So,
All's in favor? Thank you very much, appreciate everybody, I really do. I took this off